Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. Well, this time I wanted to release my top 10 want list for 2019. You know, sometimes it's always a crapshoot whether or not I'm going to be able to get most of these books, but it's still fun to try to hunt them down and see if you could find them and see if you could actually add them to your collection. But lists change, as my list has changed in 2018. But we'll see what happens. So we're going to start off with number 10. Green Lantern 76. This is a book, I had this book for a little while and I wound up selling it. I have no regrets. The books that I sell, I don't regret what I sell. But it's definitely a book that I would like to get again, hopefully in 2019. A mid-grade copy. I don't need an 8.0 or anything like that. Maybe a 5.0 would be nice. See what happens. But yeah, I would definitely like to get that. It's a classic book, classic cover by Neil Adams, as I just showed. And I thought that, it'd be nice for it to come back home. So, let's move on to number 9. Vault of Horror 35. Now, I have owned this book before and I sold it. It was a real beat-up copy. And sometimes, I'll have a beat-up copy of a book in my collection and I just can't stand it. It's just annoying the hell out of me. And I just have to get rid of it. And I did. And I don't regret it. And I wound up winning another copy off of Heritage back in October. So I was really ecstatic. And then when the book came, I noticed that there was rust on the staples. Now, I don't like rust on on the books. Does that mean I won't buy a book that has a little bit of rust? Maybe. I don't know. But this was a different story. It had rust on the staples, and it went through every single wrap. And when I opened the cover, now I open these books gently. I'm not rough with anything. I realize the age and all this stuff. As I opened up the cover, it detached at the bottom staple. I was like, no, can't have this. So I let Heritage know exactly what I thought, and they gave me a refund, and I shipped the book back. So I still would like to get this book. I would love to add this book to my collection. Vault of Horror number 35. For those of you that know, I'm trying to collect. I love EC. I'm trying to collect all the books that were in the two 70s movies, 72, 73, Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror. And Vault of Horror 35 has an All Through the House, which also was on the HBO show, the 3rd episode. That was in Tales from the Crypt in 1972. So it's definitely a classic cover and a classic story. Number 8. Tales from the Crypt 23. This book is not that easy to find, and when you find it, it's pretty expensive. Classic Feldstein cover of a corpse, as you just saw, coming out of the casket. That the cover story is Last Respects. In the story, a corpse did not come out of the casket. The guy did get locked in a mausoleum, and because he got locked in a mausoleum, he wound up eating the bodies inside the mausoleum and died of poisoning from the formaldehyde. As it turns out, the zombie that's rising out of that coffin, he murdered that man because he married that man's niece. And the uncle, didn't want him to do anything, didn't want her to have anything to do with this guy. The girl got sick. The uncle would not let him see her, and she wound up dying. So he got revenge and killed the uncle. And she was also buried in that same mausoleum. So he went to go visit her, and then the door locked, and he couldn't get out. But definitely one of my favorite books. And that particular book, 23. every story in that book, all four of them, is good. You will not be disappointed with any of them. You know, some of the books, 2 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 1 out of 4 stories, you know, they're really, really good. And the others are just okay or just eh. Not with 23. Every single one of them is good. Okay, moving on to number 7. The Amazing Spider-Man number 4. I have Amazing Spider-Man number 4, but I have a 2.0 copy. I'd like to upgrade it. Nothing big. Sort of like what I did with my Doc Ock. Maybe I'll be happy with a 3.0, 3.5. The spine's a little beat on my copy, so I'd like to get one that has a pretty intact spine, and I'm sure I could find one at that grade. Number 6. Tales from the Crypt number 20. Now this is regarded as the first issue of Tales from the Crypt. This is when Crypt of Terror became Tales from the Crypt. This is once again another book that I one time had. I had a very low grade copy, and I just sold it. You know, I said no, I'll see if I can get this book again that's just slightly better. You know, once again, I don't need a high grade copy. I won't pay for a high grade copy, but maybe in the 3 range would be nice. So we'll see what happens. I love the cover stories, Impending Doom. I have a lot of fond memories of those early Tales from the Crypt books when I got the Russ Cochran hardcover set back in 1991. I was able to read them all, and I enjoyed them all. So one thing I can say about the Russ Cochran sets, you know, it sucks because they were all in black and white. I remember when I got them back in the day, I was upset, like, oh, this is all black and white. I mean, it's okay. But, you know, as I get the original ones, I'm like, I just can't wait to open them up and see what they look like in color, you know? So that's always a treat. Moving on to number 5. The Amazing Spider-Man number 2, the first appearance of the Vulture and the Tinkerer. Yeah, this is definitely another book that I want to have in my collection. 2018 I managed to get, and in 2017 I managed to get a lot of Spider-Man books. I got the Ultimate Spider-Man book with Amazing Fantasy 15, so nothing could top that one in my opinion. But there are still a few that I have to get, and there are still a few I have to upgrade. And one I still need to get, a book that I never owned, is number 2. Moving on to number 4. The Vault of Horror number 12. This is the first issue of Vault of Horror, and it's kind of scarce and it's kind of pricey. But we'll see. You know, it's definitely a book I would like to have. We'll see what happens. Sometimes trying to find that right copy can be a little difficult and may take time. If it takes time, it takes time. You know, what are you going to do? But definitely a book I'd like to add to my collection. Number 3. Crime Suspense Stories number 22, the infamous Decapitation cover. This book is definitely a book I want for this 2019. Probably be a lower grade copy because the higher grades go very, very expensive. I think this is the single most important EC cover in their library. Now, it's not necessarily the greatest story, and you know that book is only worth that much because of the cover. It's not really worth anything because of what's inside. I mean, sure, you have great artwork and all that stuff, but I think it was that book that just really, I mean, a lot of things brought EC down, but seeing that particular cover as the Senate is showing Bill Gaines this cover, famously, right, probably didn't help EC's chances of continuing to publish titles like that. So maybe they shot themselves in the foot. But definitely a book I'd like to get. Number 2. Detective Comics 225. We'll see. This is another one that I'm putting in the we'll see category. It's pretty high on the list. It's number 2, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if I'm able to get the other books, or if things change. Maybe I'll be able to pick up a copy. Probably be a 2.0 copy. Nothing higher than that. And now, the number 1 book that I would like to get for 2019, and that book is Amazing Spider-Man number 1. It's probably the next best thing after Amazing Fantasy 15. We'll see what happens. I know the prices on number 1 are getting pretty high, but we'll just see what happens. It's once again, if I don't wind up getting Amazing Spider-Man number 1, it's no big deal, because I have Amazing Fantasy 15, Amazing Spider-Man number 1. Can't hold a candle to Amazing Fantasy 15, in my opinion. Although it's pretty close, but we'll see what happens. I definitely would like to finish a short run of Amazing Spider-Man, just as I'm working on a short run for my X-Men books. It's definitely a book I'd like to get. As you know, it's the first appearance of the Chameleon, first appearance of J. Jonah Jameson, and it's Spider-Man in his first solo title. So that's my top 10 books, my top 10 want list. That's my top 10 want list for 2019. Hopefully I'll be able to get most of them, but we shall see, won't we? And I'm looking forward to seeing some of your top 10 want lists for next year. And hopefully a year from now, a lot of us will have on what we wanted on that list. Thank you all for watching. Take care, everyone.